Stonehenge stands as a silent monument, a titan of stone etched against the rolling green hills of Wiltshire. For centuries, it has held its secrets close, its purpose a subject of endless debate. The popular imagination, fueled by romanticism and a sense of mystique, has often linked this ancient henge to one particular group, the Druids. But were they truly the master builders, the high priests who walked within these colossal stones? We've all seen the pictures, the depictions of robed figures standing solemnly at the summer solstice. But what if the true story is far more complex and far more intriguing than the public narrative suggests? This is not just a story about a circle of stones. It is a story about the people who gave it a voice, a purpose, and a mystery that endures to this day. We will peel back the layers of myth and reveal the hidden truths of the Druids' connection to Stonehenge, exploring the secret rituals that history has either forgotten or deliberately obscured. We will delve into the whispers of the stones themselves, uncovering the echoes of ceremonies performed thousands of years after the stones were first erected. Let us journey back in time, not to the popular image, but to a more authentic, more challenging history. The true narrative begins not with the stones themselves, but with the people who would one day claim them as their own.
To truly understand the Druids' role, we must first understand who they were and what they represented in the pre-Roman Celtic world. They were not mere priests. They were the keepers of knowledge, the judges, the physicians, and the astronomers of their time. The term Druid itself is thought to mean oak knower or wise man of the oak, a testament to their deep connection with nature. Their teachings were oral, passed down through a rigorous and extensive training period that could last up to 20 years. This deliberate lack of written records makes their study both fascinating and incredibly difficult. Roman writers such as Caesar and Pliny the Elder provide us with our primary sources, but their accounts must be read with a critical eye, as they were often colored by political agendas and Roman biases. They described the Druids as a powerful priestly class, capable of mediating disputes, presiding over religious ceremonies, and holding significant influence over the Celtic tribes. These were the figures who guided their people through the cycles of the seasons, the battles of war, and the transitions of life and death. Their spiritual practices were deeply embedded in the natural world, in groves of ancient trees and in sacred springs, places where the veil between worlds was said to be thin. Herein lies the first great historical paradox. The construction of Stonehenge began around 3000 BCE, long before the Celtic peoples, and by extension the Druids, arrived in Britain. The earliest phase, a simple earthwork enclosure, predates the Druids by nearly 2,000 years. The iconic Sarsen stones we see today were erected around 2500 BCE. The Celtic tribes themselves didn't fully establish their presence in Britain until around 700 BCE, with the emergence of the Iron Age. So, if the Druids were a product of the Iron Age, how could they have built a monument from the Neolithic and Bronze Ages? The answer is simple: they didn't. This historical mismatch is the key to unlocking the truth behind the myth. The popular association between the two is a relatively modern invention, one that gained traction during the Romantic revival of the 17th and 18th centuries. Writers and antiquarians seeking to reconnect with a lost past projected their own romanticized image of the Druids onto the most impressive ancient monument they could find. This anachronism doesn't diminish the Druids' importance, but rather reframes their relationship with Stonehenge.
They were not its architects, but its inheritors. While they didn't build it, the Druids undoubtedly used it. They encountered a monument already ancient, a hallowed ground that had seen millennia of ceremonies, burials, and celestial observations. It would have been a place of immense spiritual power, a site imbued with the energy of countless generations. The Druids, with their deep respect for sacred geography and the cycles of nature, would have recognized this immediately. It is here, in the Iron Age, that Stonehenge found its second life. The Druids likely contracted the monument, incorporating it into their own rituals and traditions. It became a new temple for an old belief system. The alignment with the sun at the summer solstice, a feature that was central to the original builder's intent, would have been particularly significant for a priesthood that venerated the sun and the moon. This use of a pre-existing sacred site is a common thread throughout history, with new religions often building upon the foundations of old ones. So the question shifts from did they build it to how did they use it?
The most enduring image of the Druids at Stonehenge is their gathering at the summer solstice. This is not mere speculation. Historical and archaeological evidence points to this being a central part of their practice. For the Druids, the solstice was not just a celebration of the longest day. It was a deeply spiritual event, a moment of cosmic connection. It was a time to honor the sun god, to perform rites of fertility and renewal, and to seek divine knowledge. The secret of their rituals lies in the connection between the stones and the heavens. The heel stone, standing outside the main circle, aligns perfectly with the rising sun on the solstice morning. The Druids, as keen astronomers, would have understood and revered this alignment. Their rituals would have been a precise, timed dance between the earth and the sky, using the stones as a cosmic clock. It was a moment when the temporal and the eternal converged, when their prayers and offerings were believed to have the greatest power. What exactly did these rituals entail? While written records are scant, archaeological findings and later accounts provide some clues. We know that the Druids performed ceremonies that involved offerings, incantations, and communion with the spiritual world. Some accounts, albeit from Roman sources, suggest a darker side, mentioning human sacrifices. However, this may have been exaggerated for propaganda purposes. A more likely picture is one of sacred offerings, votive gifts, plant matter, and perhaps even animal sacrifices to honor the gods. The rituals were not confined to the stones themselves. The entire landscape was a sacred space. The nearby river Avon and the ancient ceremonial avenue leading to the henge were integral parts of the processional rituals. The Druids would have used spells and chants, their voices echoing across the plains to evoke the spirits of the land and the sky. The true mystery isn't just what they did at Stonehenge, but what they did in the hidden groves and secret sanctuaries that dotted the British landscape, away from prying Roman eyes. Why, then, did the myth of the Druids as the builders persist? The answer lies in the human desire to romanticize the past and to fill in the gaps of history with compelling narratives. The 18th century antiquarian William Stukeley fervently believed in the Druid-Stonehenge connection and was instrumental in popularizing it. His flawed theories were embraced by the public, who were captivated by the image of a wise, noble priesthood guarding a prehistoric secret. This romantic view served a political and cultural purpose too, giving Britain a sense of a deep, indigenous spiritual heritage that predated Roman conquest. It allowed them to claim a unique, powerful heritage. This myth,
despite being debunked by modern archaeology, has left an indelible mark on our collective consciousness. It has become a part of the monument's story, a layer of meaning added over the centuries that is, in its own way, as powerful as the truth.
The story doesn't end with the Romans' suppression of the Druids. The romantic ideals of the past led to a modern revival of Druidry in the 20th century. Modern Druid orders, while not direct descendants of their Iron Age counterparts, have adopted their core principles of nature worship, harmony, and wisdom. For them, Stonehenge is a central pilgrimage site, a place to reconnect with the spirit of the land and the ancient British heritage. They gather there at the solstices and equinoxes, performing their own ceremonies in a space that feels both timeless and sacred. Their rituals, far from being a reenactment of a long-lost past, are a new expression of an old reverence. They are the latest chapter in the monument's story, a living link to the spiritual power that first drew people to this place thousands of years ago. Their presence ensures that the spirit of Druidry and its connection to Stonehenge lives on. While the Druids found their place at Stonehenge, it is crucial to remember the people who actually built it. The monument is a testament to the ingenuity and sheer will of our Neolithic ancestors. They were a sophisticated, organized society, capable of moving enormous stones over vast distances and aligning them with astronomical precision. The Aubrey holes, the heel stone, and the Sarsen trilithons all speak of a culture that was deeply connected to the cycles of the sun and the moon, and perhaps the afterlife. Their rituals, though we know little of them, were likely centered on death and burial, as indicated by the numerous human remains found at the site. This is a story of incredible human effort, of a society that dedicated generations to creating a monument to their beliefs. The Druid story is fascinating, but it is one layer on top of a much older and perhaps even more profound narrative of human endeavor and spiritual seeking. So, the Druids did not build Stonehenge, but they adopted it. They used it, and in doing so, they gave it a new and lasting spiritual identity. The myth of their connection, though historically inaccurate, speaks to a deeper truth, that this circle of stones has always been a place of immense power and reverence, a magnet for those who seek to connect with something larger than themselves. It is a canvas upon which countless generations have projected their beliefs, their desires, and their dreams. The true magic of Stonehenge is not found in a single secret ritual, but in its ability to be reborn and reinterpreted over and over again. It is a monument that contains within its very stones the echoes of the Neolithic builders, the Iron Age Druids, the Roman onlookers, the medieval storytellers, and the modern-day pilgrims. It stands today not as a static relic of a single era, but as a living tapestry of myth, history, and enduring mystery. The whispers of the stones continue, and it is up to us to listen to all the stories they have to tell.